Hello, it's Will. Whilst health issues have been keeping me and Ellie away from the mic lately, we've been busy behind the scenes finishing up a brand new episode for you. Last August, we sat down for a great interview with Olivia Dieterich about her book, Random Acts of Crochet Kindness, and we've just put the finishing touches on the edit. We hope you find the conversation as uplifting as we did, and remember that leaving a rating or a review would mean the world to us. It really keeps our spirits up whilst we are on our break. Enjoy! Hello, my name is Will.
My name is Ellie.
Welcome to Lively Minds, the podcast about mental health challenges that go beyond the ebb and flow of the everyday.
The podcast that looks at how building a better understanding of our mental health can influence how we address it.
Today we are talking to Olivia Dieterich about her new book, Random Acts of Crochet Kindness.
Olivia grew up around crafts thanks to her nan, but she found a true passion for crocheting when she was at school and struggling with her mental health.
In 2019, she started the UK-based Facebook group Random Acts of Crochet Kindness, which now has over 350,000 members, with groups all over the world. Olivia loves using crochet to put kindness out into the world and finds that doing so hugely benefits her own mental health, as well as bringing joy to other people.
Olivia's first book, Random Acts of Crochet Kindness, is published by Search Press and is available to buy now.
Welcome to the show, Olivia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's very exciting to have you here. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you so much, it's very exciting.
It started as the hashtag, did it? Random Acts of Crochet Kindness. Could you tell us a bit about the movement, kind of how it all started?
Yeah, it started because I sadly lost a friend to suicide, and I made her some crochet items for her funeral, and it helped me to deal with the grief that I felt at the time. But after her funeral, I didn't really know what to do with myself, and I set myself a challenge just to get myself out of the house and to give me a sense of purpose. So the challenge was for 100 days, I crochet a flower and leave it out for a stranger to find. And I don't know where the idea came from Random Acts of Crochet Kindness, but it was just what I wrote on the label at the time, along with a message that basically said, if this makes you smile, feel free to take me home. And that's where the hashtag started.
That's so lovely.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said a flower, because people have been trying to teach me to crochet for like 12 years and I can never get my head around it. I finally did this year, and the thing that I was aiming to make is the little flowers.
Yeah, they're a really good thing to start with because they're not too tricky, but it's the beginnings of crochet that are the hardest to get the hang of, and then once you've got that, you're away.
Yeah.
And this came about from your personal experience of using crochet as a therapeutic tool. So could you talk about how you came across crochet in particular and how it helped?
Yeah, I mean, I've always grown up with crafts, and my nan, she did every craft that you could think of apart from crocheting. So it was really normal for me to do different crafts like cross stitch, knitting, latch hook. I was always trying different things. It was actually with a visit with a friend who she was crocheting at the time, and I just was curious, I think, because I'd never seen it before, that I was like, oh, what are you doing? And she tried to teach me, and I just found it baffling. I couldn't get my head around it. And after that, I went home and I watched a YouTube video, a Bella Coco YouTube video, and I just found it just clicked in my head of, like, I just fell in love with it at the time, and I never stopped after that. I found it really grounding. I found it a lot easier than knitting, and I found it really therapeutic.
Wow. And we had another guest, my friend Dol, came on the podcast, I can't remember how long ago, but they talk a lot about how crochet saved their life and how amazing it was for their mental health. And when I was having a rough patch, they sent me like a crocheted bag full of crochet stuff for me to start doing it recently, and it was really sweet. But I just wondered, like, do you think, I also make lots of crafts at home for my sanity, and the most recent one was like a small patchwork quilt, which again is with your hands and fabric, and kind of it's a bit repetitive. Mm-hmm. I just wondered, from your, especially if you've done other crafts with your nan, is there something about crochet in particular for you that's why it's the best one for you, the best craft for you, or do you think it's just more generally about having something creative? Like, what do you think it is?
I think everyone will find a different craft that works for them. I mean, for me, crocheting has so many different elements to it that I find helpful. So I think the colours of the yarn, the textures that you're using, the fact that you have to have a hold of this hook and you have to pay attention to where you're putting it. You also have the pattern that you're following. So there are so many different things that keep your mind occupied, so many different grounding elements to it. And I think the process of physically making something and then having it to look at and be like, oh, I've just made this thing that didn't exist before is really rewarding.
And then you don't feel any loss when you've sort of sent it off into the world.
I think it's actually, I hear this a lot. People prefer making things for other people and hardly ever make things for themselves. I think it's just such a nice thing to create something and give it away. It's an act of care. It's giving something to the world. Yeah, I think it just has a really positive impact.
And I think that there is something, isn't there, here about improving one's own mental health by undertaking small acts that improve other people's mental health. And I think that's something which is applicable to so many different art forms and so many different ideas about just being creative. But what do you think it is about doing things for other people that can help us feel better as individuals?
I think during the times where I felt my lowest, I really struggled to have a sense of purpose. I didn't feel like I was adding anything to the world. I felt really lost with what I was doing. And I think the act of making something and putting it out into the world and having feedback that says, you know, you've brightened my day, or I was having a really difficult time and you've helped me to find a smile, that showed me that I was having a positive impact and that I did have something to give to the world. So that helped me to keep going. It helped me to realise that I do have an impact. I do have the power to change one person's day, which is an amazing thing. And I think knowing that you're making somebody else smile when you're struggling to smile yourself is a really powerful thing.
Yeah, it's kind of feels kind of validating when if you're feeling a bit of a negative thought pattern about yourself, that you're not kind of doing enough or being enough or whatever. It's a really powerful thing. So could you tell us what happened when the movement took off? Because you've described the start but then suddenly there's a Facebook group with 250,000 people, and then there's affiliated groups all over the world. What happened?
It just went kind of crazy. So
and when was this? Was this during lockdown or?
Yeah, it was in and around lockdown, so it was a bit of a difficult time to be putting things out into the world. So it was one that had to be handled kind of carefully. But it was during the 100 days. There was one day in particular where I was feeling a little bit rubbish, and I made something, but I thought it was really rubbish, and I thought I need to put it out because it's a 100-day challenge, but I didn't want to put my name on it because I thought I don't even want anybody to know that I've made this. I was really kind of not ashamed of it, but I just thought this is rubbish. So I left it out, and then, you know, the local Facebook groups for Spotted, and then it's the area that you live in.
Oh yeah.
Someone put a picture of it on that group saying, who made this? I found it and I want to know who made it. And it must have gotten around that I was doing this challenge. Everyone started tagging me in it, which is ironic because it's the one that I didn't want.
The one that you didn't want.
And there was a member of the BBC in that group. They picked up on it, and I did an interview with BBC Radio Leicester. And then after that, BBC in general did a video kind of explaining what I was doing. And after that, it just kind of went nuts. So that got 2.6 million views.
Wow.
And I was just overwhelmed with messages from people saying, I love this, I want to get involved, how do I do this? So that's when I made the Facebook group, and it's just absolutely skyrocketed.
Wow. And have you had much interaction with groups around the world?
Well, the group that I started has members from all over the world, which is just crazy. So there's people from England, America, Australia, India, the Philippines, Italy, it's everywhere. And then people started messaging me saying, do you mind if I start a group that's just for Poland, that's just for America? And I was like, no, of course not. Feel free to do that. So it kind of started branching off, but it really took off. People love it.
And it's maintained momentum now.
Yeah, I think there's been periods of time where I've had to take a little bit of a step away from it, where I've been busy with work or I've not been able to give as much time to it. But now it's doing amazingly. It's getting about 600 members a week, something like that. It's really crazy.
That's brilliant.
It is amazing. And it's just such an amazing source of positivity. Every time I feel a little bit down, I just go on the group and look at it, and it's just positive stories of people either finding or putting things out into the world to make people smile.
With all these people taking part in it, are you seeing lots of positive stories of where people are being able to support their own and other people's well-being.
Yeah, I mean, I think the group doesn't speak hugely about mental health struggles. It's a lot of comments around, oh, I was having a rubbish day and I found this and it made me smile, or my child was having a meltdown and then they found this and it helped me get the food shop done, or little stories, I think, of just small moments where you've had a positive impact and it's just brightened their day or made their day a little bit easier to navigate. I think we don't have loads of comments around mental health, which is, I'm not sure. I think occasionally they happen, but it's more about the positive impact that it's had to help them.
We've done like quite a few episodes over the years where we've talked to various people who study happiness and what is happiness and things. People who study depression and high functioning depression, and one of the things that has come up in all of those conversations with different people is the importance of finding and acknowledging small bits of joy every day. This to me is like a perfect example of that, and how doing that can really change things for you overall a lot as well.
Yeah, and I think they're called like glimmers, right? Like on the difficult days, look for glimmers, like the small little things that bring joy and show you that the world isn't all bad, or there is a little flicker of hope because someone's taken the time to make this and put it into the world and now you found it. And I think those are the things that people need to hold on to sometimes.
So can you tell us about the book?
Yep, so the book is how do I summarise it? I wanted it to be a book that if someone is struggling to think of how to get involved, they can pick up this book and know from start to finish exactly what to do. So on the days where they're feeling a bit confused or overwhelmed, or they just don't know where to start, this book guides you through the process from start to finish. So it explains what the mental health benefits are. It shows the positive impact it's had on other people that have put them into the world and that have found them. It tells you ideas of where to leave them. It tells you there's 25 patterns in there to choose from that are beginner friendly. It has tag label ideas, so templates for tags. It has interviews with different people who've gotten involved in the movement, why they got involved. It has guest designers, and it has my dedication to Natalie, who's my friend who passed away. So for me, it encapsulates random acts of crochet kindness and gives you everything that you need to do to get involved.
And what made you want to do this as a book? Is it to round it off as a chapter, or more specifically for people who maybe won't be using social media as much but want to do something like this?
I think it was more to spread awareness, to kind of get the word out more about random acts of crochet kindness, to talk about the mental health benefits. I really wanted to keep it focused around mental health and well-being. It's a huge passion of mine. I'm a therapist full-time. That's what I do for my job. So I'm very passionate about everyday maintenance of mental health well-being. And I think crocheting is a huge coping strategy for a lot of people, and something that can be utilised a lot more, especially with kindness and putting things out into the world. So I think getting the word out more, reaching more people, and having this physical tool that people can use to aid their random acts of crochet kindness journey.
And does it teach you to if you had never held a crochet hook before in your life, is it suitable for that person, or is it more for someone who already knows a little bit of how to crochet?
It does have how-to crochet guides in it. I think sometimes I personally have struggled to learn from a drawing or a diagram in a book. It does explain every stitch. I do think it's sometimes helpful to have a video aid also. So I think there's so many YouTube videos that exist that if you watch the video and then you see the diagram, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I've got it now. So I think they work pretty well in combination.
One of the things we try to explore on this podcast is not so much necessarily how we tackle mental health challenges, but more how we understand those challenges in the first place, understanding the root causes, if you like, of mental health problems. As a therapist, do you think that random acts of crochet kindness or similar types of creative activity, what does that say, do you think, about how we nurture positive mental health on a kind of a wider kind of scale?
I think crocheting, especially with random acts of crochet kindness, is amazing for self-esteem. I think a lot of the people that I come into contact with, they're struggling with their self-esteem, with their self-worth, with the way they think about themselves in the moment when everything is still. So I think I notice a lot of people struggle with silence, with stillness. They try and keep themselves busy distractions all the time. And I think crocheting is a healthier form of distraction, but it also helps people to be more comfortable with staying still, with being peaceful, with resting, because it grounds them in a present moment whilst doing something quite comforting, whilst they're creating something that adds joy, positivity, kindness into the world. So I think all of those things combined together, you're helping to build your self-esteem, you're helping to give yourself a sense of purpose, you've got a tool that helps you to keep going during the difficult moments. I know I used to struggle with self-harm, and crocheting was the thing that helped me to resist the urge to self-harm, because I'd say, I'll just do one more stitch, one more stitch, one more stitch, and I would keep going until that urge had passed. So I think it's not a fix, it's not a thing that should replace therapy or medication, but it is a tool that can help you get through those really difficult moments and to start to build up confidence again.
And there's something about, on the one hand, it being an opportunity to do something yourself, by yourself, to occupy yourself in a positive way. But then there's also something about connection in there as well, isn't there? And I'm interested in those two sides to it. So initially, of course, that connection was you leaving these items out for people to discover. Since then, it's become a Facebook group of 350,000 people.
Yeah.
I'm interested that social media is often talked about in sort of negative terms, in terms of not being an ideal form of social connection, which of course is highly debatable, obviously. But here's an example of where it seems to be a really positive thing, where you're able to encapsulate, on the one hand, both the benefits of doing something that occupies yourself, but also something which actually brings you into contact with other people and forming some kind of community.
Yeah, definitely. And there are so many people in the group that are isolated, that live on their own, that don't see anybody in the week, and they love, sharing the things that they've made, posting them in the group, having other people comment and sharing ideas. It brings them together into this sense of community, like you say, and that is just invaluable for how much it can aid a person's well-being in terms of having that community around you. And it is an incredibly supportive space in that way.
It's interesting because that quilt I was talking about that I made, the hexagons were driving me nuts that I was stitching together. My friend said, yeah, but when you finish it, the memories will be so strong from that period of time because we sat physically doing it. And when I finished it, I can't imagine, it's feels so personal to me, that thing that I made whilst I was thinking about all these complicated things. I can't imagine sharing it to someone else. So I just wondered it sounds like you didn't feel like that when you were even when you were making the crochet, going through the really worst bits of grief. It didn't feel like a private thing, part of it felt right to kind of put it out into the world, which is really lovely.
I think it's different also because quilting is, from what I understand, a very slow process, and then you create quite big things and it takes a lot of time and effort and energy. So it feels harder to then give that away, where the idea is with Random Acts of Crochet Kindness is to make small things that don't take very long, doesn't give you that time to get as attached to them.
I just realised that people who can crochet do it really quickly. Yeah. I do it extremely slowly because I can't actually do it. So I was just but crocheting takes ages. That flower would take me 5 hours. No, but I realise it takes people who can do it
so definitely,
much quicker.
There are things that I've made that I thought, this is for me. I'm going to keep this. Yeah. It's taken me hours and hours and hours. But I think when they're just little acts of kindness, sometimes I'll smash out 10 in a sitting and then I'm they're ready to go out.
I want to go make some now.
The smaller the project, the better, because it gives you less time to get attached to them.
Less attachment.
Yeah.
So what's next?
I love the idea of making, like you say, there are social media, there's that sense of community in the social media aspect. I would love to have groups kind of where we do meetups and do Random Acts of Crochet Kindness groups in person. I think one thing I've noticed with the group is how many children love getting involved, and I think it's really important to start early with children and showing them the importance of kindness and the importance of crafts. It's something that's helped me for my entire life. So I would love to write a children's book based around Random Acts of Crochet Kindness, but kind of making it a little bit simpler so they can get involved. So that's something I've started writing, which is exciting. learning, just to try and make it
Lovely.
accessible to them, because I know the patterns, whilst they're beginner friendly, are a bit tricky for children. So, and just continuing to spread awareness of mental health and well-being. I think that's always at the front of my mind, of how I can encourage people to take care of their mental health and well-being every day, rather than waiting until it's really bad.
Do you encourage your patients to take part in crochet specific? Like, do you talk to them about crochet specifically, or
It's not
do you see this as very much separate from your work?
Yeah, it's interesting because the work that I do is short term. So I only do 8-session work, and it's with domestic abuse clients. So it's really focused on safety and stabilisation. I do sometimes, if they're interested in arts and crafts, I will raise the idea of it, but I wouldn't want to not waste, but because the 8 sessions they have are so precious.
It's pretty goal focused.
It's kind of focused on making them safe where they are right now. But the place that I work does have a craft club, which is nice.
Oh.
So there is some craft elements involved in the place where I work. But I would love to do it. It's just short term. It's too short term to be able to be like, let's get the crochet hooks out and let's get into it.
Thank you so much to Olivia Dieterich for joining us. Olivia's book, Random Acts of Crochet Kindness, published by Search Press, is available to buy now.
Thank you for listening, and please do tune in again for another episode of Lively Minds, the mental health podcast.
Please note that this show does not constitute medical advice and is not a replacement for seeking professional help. You can find signposting to support on our website, livelymindspod.com.
Make sure you keep up to date with our shows by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts.
Take care and bye for now.
Bye-bye.